Good afternoon. I'm Debra Morrison, your host of the We Can Do It Women Movement, and I am more than delighted to share with you Kim Garst. Kim is with us today, and wow, is she going to give us a whole lot of updated information and valuable information about nothing other than, well, marketing for sure, yet AI's influence on marketing, of which she is a world-class expert. Kim, welcome to the show.
Well, I'm so excited to be here, and I will warn everybody straight up, like I'm so fired up about the power of AI that I might give you a lot of information today.
Well, we are ready, and if I had a seatbelt on this office chair, I would put it on because I think you're going to deliver more than what we can take on one listen, and so we'll certainly have the option to go back and do that again. So Kim is with us today, and she is 60. I always say that our group is predominantly aimed at 60 and wiser women, principally because, Kim, I'll just give you this insight. In my financial planning practice, it was so clear that women 60 and wiser were so horribly socialized around money. And I think it carried through. We just didn't have the confidence that our male counterparts had. And so the We Can Do It Women movement is about pulling women out of the sidelines and into the center, into the spotlight of our own lives. And what better tools today that you're going to give us tips and tools about than AI? So just to give our audience a sense of the prominence that you have amassed, over 35 years, right, Kim?
I'm 34, so
34 years in the business,
mhm.
and now has 26,000 LinkedIn followers, Facebook followers, 371,000. Yes, that is 371, ladies and gentlemen. And Instagram, 62.7, Pinterest, 27.8. And beyond that, she is going to tell us how she busted through taking the first 5 years, Kim, to make your $60. Is that a correct
Yeah,
assessment?
it took me a little over 5 years to make my first $100. So, and yeah, so it was well, I say 100, rounded up, but my first sale was $60. Yes.
Wow. So this is a woman, ladies, that has the tenacity that we all aspire towards. Some of us have, fits and starts. And I suggest to you that Kim has, busted through those fits and given herself, somehow breathed into herself new verve and life. And she is absolutely brilliant. She's the co-founder of Boom Social. She is also your other company. Name is K. I apologize, boy, I had this up here. Give me
Uh,
your
well, actually, Boom Social is no longer in existence.
okay.
That was one of my previous businesses. I've built seven-figure online businesses. Currently, I'm just operating under my personal brand, which is Kim Garst. And we do a lot of AI consulting and things of that nature. I've reinvented myself over and over again as the marketing has evolved, and AI is obviously the next big evolution in marketing. And I really want to say to the ladies, if you don't mind me just saying something to tag on to something you just said, that I feel like women in particular don't necessarily embrace technology at the same rate that men do. And usually they miss the bubble. And so I'm like, I really am passionate about, one, thank you for inviting me to be here, because really passionate about encouraging women of all ages, but certainly our age bracket, because it's a common problem. We lack that confidence sometimes to step into the unknown, something that's new. And in some cases, it's perceived to be a little bit scary. So I just really want to encourage women to step up and into their potential when it comes to marketing, whether you have a business or not. Or I think AI can be used in just our everyday home life. Like we already are using it. You probably just don't know it yet.
This
Um,
is it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, so I'm really just wanting to, really encourage ladies to stop being fearful of technology, because it is an amazing opportunity to benefit on the front side of anything that's new. There's more benefit on the front side of new technology, just like social media in the early days, right? So many women didn't really embrace it. And, they kind of came behind and the bubble had already popped, Uh,
Yes, yes.
so I'm really just encouraging you and your audience, everybody actually, to really embrace the wonderful opportunity that AI brings us.
Well, I couldn't agree more, and yet I want you to address, Kim, this whole notion, and when Kellyanne Conway talked about alternate facts, I was just like, I thought that a lightning had struck me. It just didn't work for me at all, and so the aspect of I read about you and you're all about authenticity. Be you, show up as you.
Mhm.
And then some people have the misperception that AI is really in conflict with that because through AI you can say anything. You can say that I'm, here with, a crown on my head or something, and someone will AI a crown on my head, right? So the point is, give us your insights and how you weave that fine thread, if you will, through being authentic, showing up as ourselves, and then using AI to bolster that, not defy that.
Yes, such a good question. And you're right. Like I wrote a book, will the real you please stand up, show
Yes,
up,
you
be
did.
authentic and prosper in social media. And the whole premise behind it is, the authenticity factor. And the nice part about AI, and it's a missing component that I think a lot of people don't understand. AI is a learning ecosystem. So you teach it about yourself, you teach it about your business, you teach it about your voice, you give it samples of the things that you've written or the things that you've said. And it is scary good how much it comes out on the other side being very, very much authentic to your voice, your brand, your vision. But you still have to be the creative director. You are still in charge, large and in charge, as I say. So
Love that.
you see what it pulls out for you, and then you make sure it's you.
Yes.
But the missing component that I see so many people doing is they don't take that first step in educating the tool of choice on your voice. They're just using what I would call these singular prompts that are creating a sea of generic content,
Yes.
and it doesn't sound like you at all. And then many cases, because it doesn't, you give up on it. It's like, well, that's crap. That's like, it's not any good. I wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
So there's a training process on the front side. And then once you train it, it gets better and better, smarter and smarter. And every time I iterate something, I will give it back to it and say, for learning purposes, learn what I shifted, so that every time I iterate it, I'm educating the tool of choice on how I would have said it differently. And so it gets to a point now where it does. I mean, I can pretty much take anything that it creates for me and use it as is, because it does sound like me. The nice
Wow.
thing about AI at its base, from a productivity standpoint, that's probably the lowest hanging fruit for all of us.
Sure.
Is gives us the ability to do things that we are traditionally not zone, that's not our zone of genius. So if
Yes.
you don't write sales copy, or
Yes.
that's not your zone of genius. Like I think the most I've ever paid for sales page copy was like $20,000.
Mm.
And so who can afford that? Like even then it was like it was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And now, like I just use my marketing frameworks. I pop in what what I want out of it, and it's already knows about my business, all the details, and I can write amazing sales page copy in minutes. Like, I couldn't have done that before. I'm not a sell. I wouldn't call myself a copywriter, like, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that's just one thing. That's one example. The ability to turn things very quickly in your businesses, or even your life, um, is it just is amazing how fast that you can take something that is traditionally time consuming or has a lack of skill set, and now act like you have that skill set, because
Right.
AI
Right. Right.
helps you with that skill. So it's an incredible productivity tool, just in that ecosystem. And that's where most people start, is they
Yes.
start in that productivity space.
Right. Now, circle back with the comment that you made a couple. First of all, Kim's just dropped a ton of information, and I wanted to circle back to Kim just saying, "Oh yeah, I created what, 5 7-figure businesses? How many, Kim?"
7.
Oh well, 7. Okay, 7. Well, I have yet to convert or to create a 7-figure business, so I'm on your tail. I'm following your
Come on,
lead
that's
here.
okay. Come on.
I bought your program 2 days ago, I think, and I am now starting to dip into it. So yes, I am eager to learn. Now, this notion, Kim, of starting out. So I started out with the paid version of ChatGPT, and that's what some of us, kind of, started with. And be interested in your opining on that. And so I put in a host of information, qualifying information. So my question to you is, I just want to be clear that and I have this pretty good library, although it kind of feels like I've lost some. I don't know if it truncates it, but it kind of feels like I've lost some of my old stuff. So now I like copy it and put it on my hard drive just in the case. But does it? So I'm I'm asking it questions, Kim, based upon finances and then confidence building and leadership, because I'm a leadership and financial coach, if you will, in addition to visioning this movement. And so my question is, does it remember the things that I say kind of about Debra, the authentic things about that differentiate Debra as a person from my financial planning kind of questions, financial coaching to the grief coaching, et cetera? Does it continue to remember every time I'm logging on as Debra that this is the same Debra, she's wearing a different hat?
Yeah, so that's such a great question. ChatGPT has a memory feature,
Okay.
so you can actually, it does learn based on the memory feature. There's also a place where you can put in I call it pertinent details, like things that you don't want it to lose its way on. Sometimes even though you educate it and you've got this, you've given it all this massive amounts of information, it will lose its way. It'll be,
Okay.
and you'll have to I call it prod it. So I'll be like, hey, remember in the thread above, I gave you all my testimonials or, whatever. You need to go back to those and help me create a social post using one of those testimonials. Stuff like that, where I kind of circle back and I prod it to find its way again, because it just has to look back and the contents, the things that you've given it is there. It just
Yeah.
sometimes does lose its way. So it's a combination of things. I would encourage anyone who is using ChatGPT to look at their memory consistently, because sometimes it'll pick up stuff that I've used for clients and I don't want it in my memory, right? So you can go in there and like exit out like things that are not like yours.
Oh, time out, time out. How do you get to that, Kim? How do you get
Yeah,
to it?
so let me see if I can pull that up real quick.
Okay.
Let me look here.
And then I want you to talk to, like, do you use Claude? I mean, can you throw out some?
Yeah, so if you don't mind, I'll just go ahead and talk about some of the tools while I'm pulling this up.
You can,
Um,
surely.
Claude I love Claude for conversational style content. It's my favorite tool because it has a more human. I feel sometimes like ChatGPT is a little stuffy, like,
Yes.
it very professional usually. So if you've got a professional voice, ChatGPT is probably going to be perfect. But I do believe that Claude is a little more conversational and it feels more quote unquote authentic to me when I use it. So I do use Claude for like email content, if I'm trying to create emails or anything that is, going out to an audience versus like maybe sales copy or something like
And
that.
yeah, okay, good.
Let me just see, I'm trying to find this real quick. And the I'm also loving okay, I found it. So basically if you go into your settings under
Yes.
personalization,
Okay.
you'll find the memory feature.
Oh, perfect. Oh,
Yeah.
perfect. Okay, great. I'm just going,
So
making
another
notes.
tool that I love, 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 and I've been using it quite a bit more even than ChatGPT,
Okay.
is a tool called Perplexity.ai.
Yes, I've
Um,
heard of it. All right, give us the skinny.
Okay, so Perplexity, I think is almost a Google killer for me. I almost never go to Google anymore.
Ooh,
It is a search engine, so it does search the internet. It searches, it can search based on academic papers, it can search the web, it can search, around a variety of different parameters. But one of the things that's super nice about it is it gives you sites, meaning, just like it cites where it found the information.
oh, good, good, good.
So that's incredibly important when it comes to AI, because it's AI sometimes gives you erroneous information.
Oh,
Newsflash,
yes,
right?
yes, yes, yes.
So, when you can see where it pulled that content from, and you can go verify it without any hunting and pecking. And so I love that. So it literally is become a super search research tool for me.
Okay.
And it does a really good job of um creating good content too, so like if I'm trying to like do a workshop and I need all the pieces and parts, like I need an outline, I need all the things. I use it for writing my blog content, all pretty much all those types of things, because it
Mhm.
does the heavy lifting, it does all the research, it gives me links, link backs, it does the SEO for me. I mean, I am a real big fan of Perplexity.
I can't even doubt that in the least. Now, give us, because I haven't used it yet. I mean, literally, are you getting to Perplexity, Kim, from ChatGPT, or are you just perplexity.com? I mean,
No,
this is how
it's
steep I am.
perplexity.ai. It is a standalone tool.
Okay.
It's just like Claude.ai is a
Yes.
tool. ChatGPT is one, Perplexity is its own. There are a few tools that allow you to that aggregates those into one place.
That was going to
But
be my next question. Yes.
yeah, I've kept mine separate. I haven't like gone to one of those tools where you can get them all in one,
Yeah.
simply because I use them so much that I don't want to be throttled. So sometimes when you're using one of these tools that have everything in one spot, you have limitations on how much you can use it on the daily. And like I'm literally using it like pretty much, all throughout the course of the day.
Right.
So when I get, if I've done like, well, one thing I do, and I encourage you, if you're going to use AI, is like I said before, you're the creative director. If you don't like it, or you want this, you like this word, but you don't like that word, you tell it and let it continue to iterate for you. AI is an iteration.
Yes.
And so when I use it to iterate, and because I use it so much, I have a lot of output on the daily. So I've been using each tool standalone.
Yes.
But depends on, I think if you start using AI, you'll find that you'll do the same. If
Okay.
you start yeah, you gave me these 10 ideas and I like this word from this one, I like this phrase, but I don't like the others. Can you it's a great brainstorming tool. So you just keep going back and forth until you arrive at what you're looking to accomplish.
Right. So I'm so happy to hear the facet of Perplexity in terms of giving you sources, because like I just threw in, like, I don't know, a couple of years ago when I started doing this, and I threw in some, all right, so make me a 10 module course on, financial up leveling people's confidence around finances. And then a course, give me a course, right? And because like that's what we did at the beginning. So it gives me this course, and it's just like pouring out all this stuff, and there's like nothing about risk management. Now, this is my field, right? And then I was like,
Mhm.
how about risk management? Oh yeah, risk management. But I'm telling you, this is the caution I'm throwing out. Maybe you can opine that you don't just go to that for something that you have no idea when it's off the track, because you have to pull that thing right on back on the track. Then it's like, oh, sorry. And then, yeah, oh, of course, risk is important. So talk to us about how we can shield ourselves from maybe, going a little deep in there in terms of reliance.
Well, the reality is you're still the expert,
Yeah.
and you have got to guide it. It's not the driver here. You are.
Thank you.
And you have to, if it's missing something, then say so. One of the things I have found to be a lot easier is if it gives me, when I use my own frameworks and I do it like bite size. So I'll use a quick example. Let's say I'm writing or trying to create a landing page, right?
Okay.
I do it piecemeal, so that I find that it loses its way sometimes, or it's not as robust with the outputs if it tries to do all of it all at one time.
Oh,
So
good point.
I will do like I'll start with a headline. And then I'll do the tagline, and then I'll do my value stack, or I'll do, whatever piece is the next. And that way I can brainstorm each section separately, just based off of the framework that I use for my landing pages. And the output is so much richer because it really just focuses on that one piece. And you just keep going down until you've got this amazing landing page copy and you're ready to roll.
Yeah.
And if you compare that just to say, hey, write me a landing page on blah, 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 the output is you'll get an output, but it's going to be totally different than if you just break it down piece by piece. It's going to be a lot better quality. It'll be richer. You direct it. It's really about providing marketing frameworks to it based on your own internal knowledge. So
Yes.
that it creates, like if we had to sit down and write copy for a sales page or whatever, like it would take us a lot of time. And one of the reasons that we don't get to the finish line a lot of times is because we give it up, we throw in the towel, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So with AI, though, it does all the heavy lifting for you as long as you just give it guidance. And
Wow.
if you can give it the guidance, it will do amazing things for you. But you have to give it your knowledge, your guidance. If you feel like it's missing something or it didn't identify, like I would teach it like this, tell
Okay,
it.
good.
And then it'll create something, and you'll be like, oh wow, I didn't think of that. So it'll think of something you didn't think of, and you have to do the return. You have to give it something that it didn't think of.
Oh, so I mean, you can hear everyone. You guys can hear how skilled Kim is, globally recognized expert in the branding and social media marketing. I mean, Forbes named you, Kim, one of the top 10 social media influencers, working with Microsoft, IBM, MasterCard, I mean, these small companies, right?
Just a
Empowering
few of
them.
those, yeah.
Yeah, a couple, empowering them to, reach their connect with their audiences and their customers. And yet you even admit, that the algorithms have changed such that, we can, you had what, 40,000 at one point followers on your social, and yet they hadn't converted to your email list, which is where the action happens, where the control happens. And so we can, get all prepared and spend hours and hours putting things out onto our social platforms, yet it's really landing what 1.5%. So that it's all about building our list. So talk to us about converting from the social and pulling people and names and emails into our email list.
Yeah, and I'm super passionate about this because I started out on social on Twitter. So I have about, I don't know, 400, 500,000 followers over on Twitter. And I
Amazing.
had a lot, and it's gone down. At one point I had, I don't know, like 800K on Twitter. I think I'm roughly 500,000 on Twitter. And when I first started, I had no idea of the strategy that I'm getting ready to share with you.
Okay.
I just, like a lot of us, we just get started and we throw things at the wall and see what sticks, right? Like we just hang our shingle and we get busy, right?
Yeah.
So that was me in the early days of social media. And I just got busy. I started building an audience and a community. And I was having to pretty much trade time for money. I didn't have any mechanism to communicate with my audience other than posting 10 times a day. Like, who has time for that? It was taking
Right.
me so much time. And then I was spending so much time engaging with the people on, like getting up and taking my bath in the morning and like spending 2 to 3 hours, like just responding to all the people who retweeted me. Right.
Exactly.
So I'm like, okay, there's got to be a better way. And somebody's like, well, are you building your list? And I'm like, what do you mean? So, so I had over 500,000 followers when somebody said, "Are you building your list?" And so I'm like, okay. So that took me down the digital marketing road, which is really when I started learning about how to bridge my online audience to the money. And the way to
Let's
do
talk about it.
that is through email communication. You don't own those followers. Like you don't even eyeballs are one of those things. They may see your content, but if they don't move to a place you own, there is no way for one, you to know who they are, two, for you to know if they're ever going to see you again, and three, which is the most important, how do you take that initial interest and turn it into a revenue generator for you?
Right.
So the short way to get to the money is, to give away something for free.
Yeah.
The reality is this strategy has declined in effectiveness.
Yeah.
Not going to shine y'all on. It's absolutely true. It has declined in effectiveness. One of the best in ways that we have found currently, and we do this with my content to profit training, is the content that is most consumed today in the social space is short form video.
Thank you.
So short form content or short form videos, and I think it goes a little deeper than that. So content for content's sake is no longer acceptable, in my opinion. So it is like, I'm just going to be totally honest with everybody.
Come on, come on.
So, if you're just throwing something out there to say you did it, to check the box, you have no real goal set for it. It doesn't drive any revenue. Stop. Don't do it. Like, it is just totally a waste of time and energy. Now, there used to be a time when I would have said that that's not true.
Yeah.
But today I feel like we have our attention span in the online space used to be 7 to 8 seconds. It is down to about 1 to 2 seconds now.
I was
No
going to
joke.
say.
So you have a very short window of time. And then once you get their attention, I mean, you could post a puppy dog video if you want, and you may get their attention, but it's not going to drive revenue for you, right? So my strategy with the content to profit is very specific. It is problem centric. So, creating short videos that with a hook that identifies the problem right out the gate in 1 to 2 seconds. So they know you have an answer to something they have a problem with, right? So you present you hook them with whatever the problem is, you give them some meat to go with it, and you always, always, always use a CTA that drives them to somewhere you own.
Yeah.
So we've had very, very amazing success with this strategy. We have one client that had almost zero social following at the time, and she has amassed over, almost 300,000 followers now in like a 6-month window. So a very, very short period of time. And her sales are up 33%, and her list, she had no list to start with. And now her list she has a list, and she can consistently put her offer out to the people that, have raised their hand and said, yes, they want to be on her list. I mean, want to hear from her.
Sure.
So it has been a really effective strategy. I mean, I just gave you one example, but this is the best way today to grab attention and put them on the road to working with you. Once you get them on your list, though, you have to nurture them. You can't just, I see so many people who'll start building the list and then they don't email them. Like, they're like, so make sure you have an email plan, or make sure you have a nurture sequence in place that will love them up and, drive them towards the things that you can do to help them to solve the problems that you solve.
Exactly. And in the loving them up, I mean, you have been through so many iterations and are at the cusp of most all of them, in terms of, what's now trending. And so talk to us, Kim, about what the trend, the coming trend, if you will, or where we are right now. I mean, some of us aren't even, or nowhere near up to speed to you. So talk to us about the current and what we might maybe, be stuck something behind and can fast forward based upon your expertise.
Well, I think what I'm getting ready to say may be something that people, one, probably they may not know. It may not be something you want to know or hear, but I'm going to tell you because one of my advantages to being in this space for so long is that I do see the next thing. I don't focus a lot of my time and energy anymore on social media. Social media is Web 2.0. We are in Web 3.0 at the very beginning stages of Web 3.0. In some cases, some technology is already what I would call in Web 4.0.
Wow.
So we need to understand that ownership of our data is evolving and people want it back. We want our control back. And that evolution is, going to come in a variety of different formats. Like blockchain, for example, is going to be a huge part of Web 3.0.
Mhm.
I predict that most big businesses will be on the blockchain in the next 5 years, just like back in the day when everybody said you got to be on social media or else, right?
Uh-huh.
I think that most big brands will be on the blockchain and rewarding their customer base through tokenization, doing business with them like they would just reward you. You can use those tokens just like airline miles, right? It would be that same concept. This may sound foreign to you because it was foreign to me as of a year ago. It was one of those things that I've had to learn about and get educated about, but it is here, it is coming, and I think it'll be more and more a focal point. I mean, even with what's happening in the world right now, new administration here in the U.S., you're hearing more about it, whether you know that you're hearing about it. All this crypto stuff, like that's that whole space that is really starting to take off.
Right.
And it's one of those things that a lot of women in particular are not stepping up and trying to figure out because it sounds like we don't know anything about that. So I don't, let's just stay in the lane we know. But I would like to encourage you to start like dipping your toe in, start to be aware of it so that the more you hear it, the more you're going to start to
Embrace it,
grasp
right?
it. Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
think about it. When we started with social media, we were like, well, is that like MySpace? Like, you remember?
Yeah.
What's
Yes,
this
exactly.
Facebook thing? And now it's just commonplace. That's where we're going to be in another 5 years with this next evolution of tech.
Yeah.
And you can either be on the front side of it or you can be on the back side of it.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I always like to, just I'm pretty blunt when I'm like, come along, ladies, come along.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you're exactly right, Kim. We're either gonna be at the fore of it, or we're gonna have tire tracks on our back, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, you're talking about the paths to the money, and of course, that's of interest to every single one of us. And yet, ultimately, we're so passionate. So many of us are doing things that kind of help us, right?
Mhm.
Coaches are coaching based upon whatever we kind of like maybe wish someone had coached us on. And so, it's about our impact. Right. And
Yes.
especially as women, we're so outwardly focused, right? Like, oh, we want to save the world. Okay, well, save the world. And yet, if you really are passionate about saving the world, just take a little bit more time and get up leveled about your current acuity with the tools that we have out there. I remember when the phones came out. I mean, this is, I think, bigger than many of my iPhones earlier. And I right at the very beginning, I thought, I can't type with those little things. And I thought to myself, oh, Deborah, for the love of God, stop that. I can't stuff. So can't never could, right? That was my guess last week. Can't never could. Her dad said that. I was like, right. Okay. So now talk to us about your experience. What types of content resonate the most with audiences right now? So how can brands strike the balance between value and entertainment?
Yeah, and it is. I've always said that social is about edutainment, right?
Yeah.
Where,
Yeah.
and I think one of the ways that I have been able to do this, I laugh and tell people I speak two languages, English and Southern. So I like, and I have all these Southern sayings, like, if you grow up Southern, like you probably know some of them.
Exactly.
And you definitely heard them. So I try to infuse humor in and make it like relatable, but a little funny, like,
Yes.
poke fun at like traditional things. Like, it could be a variety of different things. And I have actually taught my AI because I have always struggled um, to, um, to be funny with my analogies and my content. Like, so that is one of the things that has been really helpful for me is to use AI to brainstorm concepts and ideas. And then like, would I say it like that? Like, so it has been one of those things that has given me the ability to marry the education with the humor side of things,
Yes.
just making it just sound and not, instead of separating it, which is what we usually do. So
Yes.
we'll usually separate it. Well, we got to have some humor, and then we've got to have our education stuff. No, you can marry it. You can connect the two. You can have fun with while you're educating people. And I think that's the differentiator. And I think that is what really attracts people to your content too. Instead of just being super stuffy, like be fun, have
Yes.
fun with your content, share, it in a way that people are going to laugh a little bit when they hear your 3 tips.
Right, right. And just because Kim talked about her quotes, she does have a lot of great quotes. And I'll forgive you for the Southern just because I have to take a little longer to hear them. No, I'm kidding.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Here's some Kim Garsts. My name is consistency. I'm related to success. Should hang out more than every once in a while.
Yeah, right. That's a good
That
one.
is so good. Then brands no longer own their message. They can try to control it, but they do not own it. Today, consumers own the message. What
Yeah.
they say about a brand carries more weight than what the brand says about itself. So, talk to us about how we get our fans, raving fans, talking about us. Can you?
Yeah. And I think that goes back to at its root. Think about it. Like when you really love to do business with someone, like even if you pay more for it, and let's be real, if you get a really great experience, and I'll give you an example of a brick and mortar business, but you know how lots of times we do business based on how our driving patterns are. Like if it's on the right side of the road and we don't have to cross over, like we'll go to the right side. If so, I had this exact scenario where down the street from my house there was a dry cleaners. It was on the right hand side. You could drive through, so it was super convenient. And then one day I was across the street at Target, and I needed to go to the dry cleaners, and there was a dry cleaners right next door. And I was like, I'm just going to pop in here and I'm going to put my stuff in this dry cleaners. And I went in, the lady started chatting me up. We had a conversation. We talked about my kids and some, just normal stuff. When I went back to pick it up, she called me by my name. She asked me about my boy, one of my children, because we had talked about his scenario he was going through in life. She specifically remembered that. To thereafter, I went back to that particular place. They were more expensive. They were inconvenient, but I went back to them because I felt seen and heard and valued. So if I had to give you one piece of advice, make your audience be seen, heard, and valued. Love them up. Do unexpected things. If you're in a coaching business, send them a birthday present, or, or what, just because, like, send them a handwritten note. People love handwritten notes these days. Who knew?
Right now.
Right. So, it's the little things that mean the most, and people will come back to you over and over again if they feel like and they'll even pay more for working with you as long as they feel like you care.
Always. You're hitting on something so key, Kim. And I've often said, if we drove cars that got us from point A to point B, we drive a Yugo, right? No, I drive a BMW. Other people drive a car that resonates with them. And so it's not about the money. It's never been about the money. Well, maybe one or two times, but it's
Mhm.
very seldom about the money. You say, and I quote Kim Garst, if people like you, they listen to you. But if they trust you, they'll do business with you. And what better example than your dry cleaner?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, and
And
there's something else too that I think from a content perspective, if you can make people laugh or cry, you've got them.
right now,
Marketing is an emotional thing. And so I think so often we get in our own heads and we get in our own way, and we don't show up authentically. We don't feel like we can put the good and the bad out there.
yes,
It's all, let's just put the good out. Nobody wants to see my garbage or my problem set, when that's exactly what people want. They want to feel like the people they're doing business with get them, see them, have the same situations or relatable. It may not be exactly the same, but problem sets are problem sets. And if you just show up perfect all the time, you're not relatable. You're not the normal well, I'm not saying you're not a normal person, but you know what I'm saying. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you really have to be okay being a little vulnerable, and being okay with showing the negative sides of things sometimes too.
Well, I couldn't agree more. I mean, people want to. I mean, that we're fragmenting from our inner society. I mean, early on when the Walkmans came out, right? Now I'm really dating myself. In the prior to the Walkman, you go to the airport, you're waiting on your plane, and you're chit chatting with the person next. And then we came into Walkmans, and now more and AirPods, and we're in our own little world. And so the connectivity, like you're saying, the handwritten note, it's like a thing of the past. So when you get something in the mail with a stamp on it, for the love of Mike, that is impressive. So translate that then into how we absolutely over give, if you will, over customize with AI.
And that goes back to like the ability for you to really love up your customers with AI is, we have found it makes it so much easier for us to do. So we have a trained bot that we use for our AI customer service, and it will, we have a framework that we use for it, but it's very much about empathy, being seen and caring for them. So making sure that they feel that when we respond to them. And because we have built out the framework inside of the chat bot, when we drop in their comment, if they come back and they say, well, we've got this problem, that problem, we drop it in, and it creates an amazing response back to them that they do feel seen, heard, and they get their problem fixed, kind of thing. Not only that, but it learns, like if let's say Susan says, this week she has a problem, and the next week she has a different problem, and we can pull those two things together. Is there any similarities there? Are we at fault here? Is there something we can do better? And so we use it in two different ways. We use it as the best way for us to serve the client base. It also helps our customer service team because they can respond faster and better. Because in the past, think about it, like, 3 or 4 paragraphs of response is going to take somebody 30 minutes to put together. Now
Yeah.
we do it in less than a minute. So it has saved us so much time, and it's doing it so much better than if we had to sit down and come up with, whatever, the entire response back to somebody. And then we also use it on the flip side to identify common problems. Like, okay, this keeps coming up. We keep hearing it. Like every week we run a little like scenario inside of the bot and say, okay, what was the common problems this week? Did we have those same problems last week? How can we fix them? How can we give our customers a better user experience? So AI can be so amazing in the construction or in the construct of, serving your buyers or even your audience at a much higher level.
Right, right. And so when you started first using the bots, Kim, sorry, you
Okay.
go by Kim mostly, right? Yes.
I do, yeah.
So do you have the customer service team, like at the beginning, you had the customer service team listen in, and then like if a person like I might say to a bot or a perceived bot, are you a bot or are you a person? Like, do you start with a person listening in so that it kind of doesn't go off the rails?
Well, we personally haven't put our bot out to be public. We use it internally. So a human responds. We just use the bot to formulate the response because that helps us to be still front facing with our customer base, and making sure that how we respond back to the client is authentic. So it saves us an immense amount of time just by using the bot internally, just so we can, respond quickly. We get how sometimes people use fragmentation, they don't articulate their full thoughts or they don't use full sentences, or you're like, what are they saying? Like, right? But you can pop this into AI and it like gets it. I don't even know. Like, you just copy and paste their comment. It formulates a very succinct response, make sure they're seen, heard, and taken care of. And you do it in a very short window of time. Now, our customer service team eyeballs that. They're like, okay, did they actually respond correctly? Is this true? Do they go here to log in, for example?
Yes.
So there is oversight, and we intentionally do it this way. So we do have oversight, and we make sure that that's our bet. That saves us time and energy on the customer service side, but it also gives us the ability to make sure that we're still serving the client.
Yes. Yes. So are you talking, Kim, about people typing in things on the website, or are you talking about do people call into an 800 number or something and say, "Hey,
You
I
could
ordered
do
this course."
both.
Okay. So let
You
me
could
get it mixed.
basically do both. Uh-huh.
I'm probably, denser than most, and yet, so let's say I call you, say, Kim, bought this service. I don't seem to see it in my email thread. I looked in junk, can't find it, or I didn't get it or whatever. And so then it transcribes my voice, my words, to something, and somebody, your customer service person sitting there looking at the screen, they hear me saying, they read me saying this, and then your AI feeds something, say, well, ask her if, she check junk, and, we'll offer to send a trick, and your person actually literally reads the AI.
Yeah, so we take that transcript, and we pop it into our train chat, and if it comes, it'll come back with a response. In some cases, because there, in many cases, not just some cases, in many cases, the client doesn't give us enough information.
Of course.
So the bot will it will identify what information it needs, and then it'll respond to that incoming message with that kind of a feedback, like, thank you so much for reaching out, we're going to solve this problem for you as quick as we can. In order to help you at the highest level, we need to know XYZ. Can you get back with us on that as soon as possible? And if we don't hear back from you in 24 hours, we'll follow up with you. So we just make sure we ask for, but it'll identify the things it needs to know in order to help the client, the customer. Yeah,
Amazing. Now let's
it's
talk
amazing.
about transparency, because you talk about that a lot.
Mhm.
I've listened to a few interviews. You interviewed Guy Kawasaki. That was amazing. And you talk about trust and transparency. So how, you talk about trust being a component of online relationships. And then how can personal transparency and storytelling, which we're all urged to do more of, be leveraged without oversharing, for example, with AI?
That is one of those things. I feel like there is literally, like, I hesitate to say 1,000 stories in a day, but there is literally so many stories in a day. Like, right? I mean, most of the time we don't think about life like that, which
Yes.
is why we always think we're making up stories. I mean, that's really where we are. We're like, okay, we have to make up a story because we have to put this out in social media, and they say the story has to be that's the way our brains are programmed to think, instead of
Yes.
us thinking about from the time we get up, we're in a story. Like, seriously, maybe the dog's paws aren't making any tracks on the frozen ground outside. That's a story, like, right?
That's the
I
story,
mean,
right?
every minute of our day is a part of our story, but we don't think of it like that. So if you start to reprogram the way you think, instead of thinking, oh, I've got to make up a story or I've got to formulate a story, just take the everyday things that happen and reposition them as, this is a story. It's like when I first started in social media, and we all did it, but it's, people still do it, by the way. This still works. We share our food. Like, right? We go to a fancy restaurant and we put our food out there. Why do people, my husband's like, why do 800 people like this? Like, that's just your dinner. Oh, he's like, I don't get this. And I'm like, it's because we all eat. Like, the day to day, we get up, we have our coffee. Like, people, how many people have a cup of coffee every day? Think about it. Like, so what's unique
Everyone.
about that? Like, that's a part of your story. Like, how, and the better part about that is people are going to connect to that if you tell
Yes.
that part. Like, hey, I just got up this morning, I got my coffee ready, I sat down, and this thought popped into my head. you know so stop trying to fabricate, or it's not so much that you're fabricating stories, but you're thinking about stories wrong. And potentially, because I've seen so many people do that, where just think about your day to day. I'll give you a quick example of something, and I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to tell you because I'm like, I cannot believe this is such a great story. So last week, I have a friend who just wrote their first book, published their first book, and it's hot off the presses. So he sent me a copy of it. Well, we got snow here in Virginia. Actually, we got snow, then we got ice, and then we got snow. So I mean, it's still a
Not good.
solid sheet of ice. And the UPS truck, we live on this big hill, and the UPS truck got stuck coming up the driveway.
Of
So
course.
my husband gets out the tractor and tries to get him, pulled out. Tractor got stuck. So he goes and gets the bulldozer, and couldn't get the bulldozer started. That was their whole rigmarole. Had to pull the tractor up the hill first, and then he had to use the dozer to pull the UPS truck. Now the UPS truck is a big old truck, like, right?
Hello.
The guy's like, "Can we take pictures of this?" My husband's like, "No, if anything goes wrong here, we don't want proof, right?" And when he finally got up the hill, do you know what he had for me? That book. It was like a little envelope with that book in it. All that trouble for that one little package that had his
Oh,
book in it.
oh my God. But the question, Kim, is did you stop what you were doing, watching hockey or whatever other things that you love and read the book? Because after all,
Yeah, it's just that I told you I recorded a voice message to him, and I'm like, you will not believe what happened to get how I got this book and how hard it was to get it. But he thought it was quite funny. But the point is that things like that happen. I mean, maybe not that dramatic. That's a
yeah, that's
little
pretty,
more.
yeah, that's
Um,
extreme. Yeah.
yeah, but the point is that on the daily, we have stories. Like we all have stories, and they're relatable in most cases
Yeah.
to other people. So just tie it into what you do and how you help people, and you're going to be fine.
Well, yeah, and another one of your quotes speaks to this, Kim. Passion, on the other hand, is primarily about the other. It's not rooted in selfish gains or desires, but instead constantly looking for ways to make life easier for others.
Yeah,
And
it's not
so,
about us at all. It's really not about us at all. And I think that was one of my biggest struggles when I first was trying to find my voice when I first started in social media. And I think sometimes people don't find it at all. They are so they see other people doing this, that, or the other thing, and they focus in on that instead of really focusing on themselves. But it's really about how you make a difference for somebody else.
yeah.
And if you can just take yourself out of be in the perfection role, and it's all about you, even though you may not think it like that. I see so many people who hold themselves back in their service of helping because they're fearful of being judged for whatever reason. If you just let go of that and realize that, if you don't help, if you don't lend your expertise to somebody else, you're doing them a disservice.
Yeah.
You're not helping, you're not stepping forward. You have amazing knowledge, you have amazing ability to help somebody. And if you don't get over yourself, that opportunity to help somebody is not going to be there. And uh, that's your hot, just putting a bishop barrel over your light. So don't do
I know. I was
it.
raised, don't cover your talent with a bushel. Don't have your talents under a bushel.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've mentored so many people, and you've sold wonderful training packages. As I say, full disclosure, I bought one of them and I am diving into it as we speak. So what lessons or principles do you in fact hope to leave as part of your legacy, like the role of mentorship evolving in this social media space, Kim?
Well, I think when it comes to helping others, a lot of what I just said is a core passion of mine. If you're not willing to lean in and really put yourself out there with the expertise and the way that you help others, um, are you really here for the right reasons?
Yes.
And so for me, my impact, and you're right. I think a lot of women are about impact. One of the struggles that I've had over the years is aligning my financial vehicle, with my impact. So sometimes you're misaligned. Your vehicle of choice, it doesn't create the financial outcome that you're looking for, or vice versa.
Mhm.
So when you are choosing, choosing to put yourself out there, choosing to share the expertise that you have, And lots of times, you know, like I say, the impact comes from a couple of different avenues. There's the impact that you make on others,
Yes,
but there's also the side. I think a lot of times when it comes to owning a business, the impact that you can make through the revenue that you generate with your business is also has to be a consideration.
absolutely.
So, you know, if you don't have a business that's generating revenue, then it's not necessarily that you're not making an impact, because you could be impacting the people that you're helping, and I would love to say that you are. But the other side of that fence is when you are generating revenue, you can hire a team that now supports the financial ability in their families. You know, I have somebody on my team in the Philippines that, you know, the average salary in the Philippines is $1.30 and an hour. And, you know, she's making, you know, 10 times that.
Of course.
And even though that might seem low, it has afforded her an upper middle class living, and she now owns her own home. She puts her kids in private schools.
Yeah,
If I wasn't generating revenue, I wouldn't be able to affect her life.
I
You
hear.
know, so when and there's other ways, like you know, I give to charities, you know, other things that it gives you the opportunity to impact in other and bigger ways when your business is generating revenue. So it's a two-way street, I guess is my point.
It totally is, and there's such a flow of joy when we give. Isn't
Yes.
it? It's really equal to receiving in my humble. So Kim is the author of several books, three of which I'll mention. Will the Real You Please Stand Up? Show Up, Be Authentic, and Prosper in Social Media. These are all on Amazon. The Quick and Easy Guide to Branding Your Business and Creating Massive Sales with Pinterest. And oh my God, I'm a remiss in not even talking about Pinterest. And the Ultimate Guide to Social Media for Business Owners, Professionals, and Entrepreneurs, co-authored with Mitch Jackson and others. Comprehensive guide covers various aspects of social media for business. Really quickly, talk to us about Pinterest.
Well, Pinterest is one of those undervalued social platforms.
Yes, it
And I
is.
would say it's not really a social platform because you don't really talk back and forth with people there, right? So it's not like social per se. But it is one of the best ways to share your content. Like it's a great traffic driver. If you have blog content, share your blogs on Pinterest. You know, if you know, the other thing that I think is, and I say this all the time, Pinterest and sorry about my dogs barking. Pinterest and YouTube are really the only two social platforms that do not require you to have an audience. So, you know, we're all wrapped up in followers, right? Like everybody's like, well, how many followers do you have? With Pinterest and YouTube, they're search engines. So you have the ability just through pure value on those platforms to attract people through the search ecosystem. So huge value in both Pinterest and YouTube.
Well, thank you so much. And Kim, for those of us who want to work further with you or work with you, how can we do that?
Well, I would love it if you just reach out to me with a voice message. I love voice messages over text messages. You could do that on pretty much all the socials, I think. You know, just send me a voice message, say you saw me here or whatever, and I would love, love, love to hear from you. I'm on all the socials as Kim Garst. So just look
Excellent.
me up. You can't miss me.
Well, I am so pleased and so delighted that you've carved out time for us. We are absolutely the richer because of it, and we will get this out to our peeps. And many, many rich blessings to you as you continue to be the pioneer, if you will, forge the path for the rest of us to follow. And we're coming behind you, sweetheart. We are
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really
indeed,
appreciate it. It's been so much fun.
indeed.
All right.
Be well. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Bye bye.